Hey, what's going on YouTube? Chuckles again with another Diablo 3 video. Today I want to bring you another wizard build. I know I did a meteor fire build probably about a month ago or so, but today I want to talk about the fire Archon build. So let's go ahead and jump right into the skills, and then I'll tell you how it plays out and the strategy behind it. So on my primary left click, I use the shock pulse with fire bolts. So it's a signature spell to regain arcane power. You'll notice with this build you don't really use a whole lot of arcane power, so you don't need things such as like, what's the ability there? Prodigy or Astral Presence or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. So I just use Shock Pulse just to top me off when I need it, and it's a fire spell. And it hits somewhat hard, and if you look at the ability, it does produce quite a nice AoE. Doesn't go as far as I like, but hits somewhat hard and it's fire, so I use Shock Pulse. Right click, I use the Archon. This is the primary ability that the whole build focuses on. It is the Fire Archon, Combustion. What it does is when you go into Archon, you explode, dealing 3,680% weapon damage as fire to all enemies within 15 yards. And then the main thing you want to look at is on the bottom there it says Archon abilities deal fire damage instead of arcane. That's the main purpose. So it does have a cooldown of 2 minutes, 120 seconds, but that's quite alright, and we'll talk about that here in a minute too. So on my first click, my number 1 key, I use Black Hole with Blazer. It is the fire ability for Black Hole. This is very not needed. It's not necessary. You can switch this for teleport if you want the movement, whatever. I just like Black Hole because it rounds up all the enemies, does quite a significant amount of damage. It ticks your conflagration, which we'll talk about that in a second, so on and so forth. And then next, my 2, 3, and 4 key are all buffs to my character. They increase my damage, so with Familiar, I'm using Spark Flint. It is the fire ability, so the little Familiar shoots off like little not arcane, but fireballs, and it gives you 10% increased damage, which is amazing. Next, I use Magic Weapon with Ignite. Same thing, increases your damage by 10 more percent, and when you attack enemies, you deal 86% weapon damage as fire over 3 seconds. So another dot doesn't hurt, right? Next, I use Energy Armor with Pinpoint Barrier. I strictly use this just for the critical hit chance. You get 5% critical hit chance, which is a major attack boost, damage boost. So that's the only reason I use that. It does decrease your maximum arcane power by 20, but increases your armor by 35%, which is quite nice because I also run Glass Cannon, as you can see right here. So for the passives, I use Blur. Damage taken is reduced by 17%. Just way too much toughness all in one passive to pass it up, in my opinion. Decreasing damage by 17% when you're in higher torments is just a great passive that I wish a lot more of the classes had. So next I use Glass Cannon because this character has quite enough armor, and he has quite a bit enough of all resist. So the 10% loss is kind of made up for with Energy Armor and Blur, so I can just take the free 15% damage increase. Conflagration, I use this because all the fire damage I deal, which is every one of my abilities, they're all fire damage. They all add a increases their critically hit chance by 6% when you have a burning effect, and it gives you the burning effect. So my Ignite, Familiar, Blazer, Firebolts, and all of my Archon abilities all add dots, and they all get their critical hit chance increased, basically. So Evocation, 20% cooldown reduction. This is pretty much the only passive skill that is a must-have. I mean, you could even do without the conflagration. I don't know why you would, but you could. But as far as Evocation goes, that's a must. I mean, 20% cooldown reduction with one passive, that's just ridiculous. So let's go ahead and take a look at my gear. Most of it is debatable. You don't have to have a lot of it, but some of it you're going to want. So the number 1 piece of gear that you have to have, Ring of Royal Grandeur, reduces the number of items needed for set bonuses by 1 to a minimum of 2. So I run 1, 2, three or four different 3-piece abilities, and you're going to need that Ring of Royal Grandeur in order to do so. So the main piece that you're going to want is the Born's Sword. So you can craft this right over at your blacksmith over there, as long as you have the pattern, and it can roll 10% cooldown reduction on the weapon. So you're going to want as much damage as you can possibly squeeze out of it a socket, and cooldown reduction by 10%, and you got to keep in mind that you can only re-roll one stat. So it may take you quite a few chances and quite a few crafting of the Born's sword, but you got to have it. So if you look at the 2-piece, you get 15% life, which is just an added plus, but the main thing is the 3-piece bonus. It reduces cooldown of all skills by 10%. So you get 10% from the sword, and then you get 10% from the 3-piece. So you have to roll with the shoulders, because the only other piece is the chest, and I'm using the Cinder Coat, and I'm not going to trade that for a Born's chest. That wouldn't be feasible. So on the shoulders, the main thing you want to worry about is you can roll cooldown reduction on the shoulders up to 8%. Mine only has 7% on them, but 8 is the cap. So you're going to want that. That way you can have the 3-piece set. And next I run with Captain Crimson Silk. This is another must-have. You don't need the 3-piece bonus, you need the 2-piece bonus. Reduces cooldown of all skills by another 10%. So you got 10% there, you got 10% from the 3-piece there, there's 20%, plus another 10% on the sword, and another 8% on the shoulders. So that's another, what, 18%? So now you're up to like 38 just from those 4 pieces of gear. So, kind of ridiculous. Next, I use the All-Guild set, which isn't necessary, but I think it's just overpowered as all get out. So you get the 2-piece set, which reduces damage from ranged and melee by 7, and you get the 3-piece set bonus, which is reduced damage from elites by 15% and increases damage against the elites by 15%. So just amazing. And to note, you will want to make sure that you have a socket in your helmet. That is a must-have. That way you can throw a diamond in there. My diamond is only 11% cooldown reduction, but I think it goes all the way up to, what, 15%? 15, 18%? Something like that. It's much higher. If you craft a perfect diamond all the way up to the top one you can get, that's what you want to put in your helmet. I just can't afford it at the moment. So you can also get cooldown reduction on your 2 rings. If they are legendary, you can go all the way up to 8%. If they're only yellows, you can only get 7%. Same with the necklace. You can get up to 8% on the necklace, which this is just I mean, it's not garbage, but it's just a trash yellow that I'm using. This is an alt, so it doesn't have the greatest of gear. And then next I'm running a Cinder Coat. So fire skills deal 15% more damage and reduces the resource cost of all fire skills by 25%. It's an okay Cinder Coat, not the best one I've seen. It's not as good as my monks, but it is what it is. Next, you're also going to want Mage Fists. This is the one piece of gear that I highly recommend using. Fire skills, you can get up to a 20% roll, and then you can get trifectas on them along with intelligence and a resist as the secondary. Those gloves are amazing. What you're looking at right there is simply perfection. So that's what you're going to want to try and shoot for. So if we take a look at the details, right now I am sitting at a 57% cooldown reduction. I think cap is like 72 point something, 73%, something along those lines. That the higher the cooldown reduction, the better for this build. So Paragon points in core. I stack movement speed. I don't have any movement speed on my boots. I don't have it on my bracers, anything like that. So sadly I have to put all 50 points to get 25% movement speed. So you're going to want to go to just 25%, whatever you have. If you have 12% on the boots, then you only want 13%, and then I stack the rest into intelligence. Intelligence gives me damage and more all resist to survive better and to make up for the fact that I'm using glass cannon. So movement speed to cap, next intelligence. Offense, 50 points in cooldown reduction. That is a must do. You get that's basically just a 10% free CDR, so that's what I shoot for. Next, of the 3, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and attack speed, I would say whatever your lowest one is. Attack speed doesn't really benefit 100% in this build, so I would probably say not to go with it. So it would be critical hit chance or critical hit damage. I still prefer critical hit chance. Critical hit damage, in my opinion, I mean, you could have 1,000 critical hit damage, but if you don't never critically hit, it's wasted. So I just always go critical hit chance. Defense, I put all 50 points in all resist just for the survivability. I find myself standing still a lot, which is bad play, I know, but if I am standing still in a puddle of poison or an arcane sentry or something like that, the more all resist I have, the better chance I have to survive. After that, I put life because I'm kind of low on HP. As you can see, I only have 365,000 HP, which is not that much in today's standards. In utility, I go all 50 points in life on hit. It's just nice for when you are starting to dip down if you find yourself standing in something. Excuse me. If you find yourself standing in something and you're taking a lot of damage, this will top you off as you battle, basically. Then after that, I put it into area damage because resource cost reduction is useless, and gold find I could care less, so area damage just seems like the only one to use. So the whole point of the build is your Archon ability. So I have my 3 buffs up, right? And if we look at my damage, I'm only a little over 1 million, 7 million toughness, nothing special. But with the Archon, you have a 2-minute cooldown. But with all that cooldown reduction, it didn't. Why isn't it popping me into Archon? Oh, I got it. There we go. So all of my abilities are fire. So I got that going for me, right? But the main thing is you're in Archon for I think 20 or 30 seconds, something like that. I think it's 20 seconds. No, it might be 30. No, it's 20 seconds. So it's a 2-minute cooldown. You're in it for 20 seconds, which means you have 100 seconds left. With a 57% cooldown reduction, that means I only have, what, 50 seconds? Or, yeah, 50 seconds. So if I was at the 80%, I would only have like 20 or 30 seconds. And then you can go right back into Archon and continually keep nuking. So that's the point of the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, I am going to put a little bit of gameplay at the end of it so you can see how the build works. So I'm probably going to be doing another monk build. Right now the only monk build I have on the channel is fire monk, so I'm probably going to show you lightning monk. Even though I don't have the gear for it, I'll still show you how you should set it up. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys.